this is one of my favorite topics shared by one of my favorite humans. And Sonal and I ironically met while I was at Lilly, and she was giving a talk to a group of folks that I was a part of this team. She really gave us some interesting takeaways that landed with me and resonated with me. And then after that, she and I met at this little funky breakfast place called Milktooth in Indianapolis. If anyone from Indianapolis is here, you'll know what I'm talking about. It's in Fountain Square, Milktooth. We had a chance to sit down and have breakfast together, and we have really been connected from an intention, from our hearts, from our focus since that time. So I just want to offer a warm welcome from athLEDA to Sonal, who has just celebrated her half-century birthday. She's beautiful, she's bright, and she's got an incredible story to share with each and every one of us. So Sonal, I'd love for you to take it away from here, my friend.
Wow. Can you hear me okay?
We can. We can.
Hi, everyone. I wish I could be there and hug you because today, as we talk about emotional intelligence and stretching, my stretch is staring at my computer and talking to humans, because I love to like reach out and hug. And when I present, I love to see your faces and your body language. And, you know, there are times my audiences are like, what? And I could see that and I could get back in and shift. So forgive me, I can't see all of your faces, but thank you so much for being here today. And I'm gonna let Blair handle the slides, the technology part of this. So we're gonna start. So here's what I wanted to say. Jelana, when we met, I will say one of the challenges was, what I get who your audience is, and that's awesome. How can I support them? What can I be and do for them so that they can come away and go, wow, I can make some changes in my life, or wow, I know exactly where I want to be. And so forgive me if there are things, I want this to be very connected in the sense that feel free to ask me questions. I pulled a bunch of things from different places because I want this to be about you. Okay. And it's a little harder when it's on the screen. So I just want to make sure I preface that ahead of time. And today, yeah, I love emotional intelligence and I love talking about stretching. We're going to dive deep into all of that. But before we do that, Blair, if you give me the first slide, please. We're going to, you know, Jelana really wanted me to share a little bit of my story and to understand where I've landed and why I landed where I am. And so this is an image of my dad. In 1969, my dad was offered an opportunity. I was born in India. I'm from India. He was a chemistry professor in India. And then he said, people can apply for a visa and then they can go to the United States. And it was a really small window of time. So my mom and dad were like, ooh, let's do it, right? They had 4 children, well, 3 children and pregnant with me. Next slide, please. And so then what ended up happening is my dad ended up applying and he got the opportunity. There's my mom pregnant. And right on the right-hand side, I just wanted to show you some of this because to me, it's so cool when you can look way back to see what our generations have done for us. And there's an image of my dad saying, I'm going to go. And my mom's like, well, I'm pregnant and we have 3 others and just go, make this dream happen. And what happened was back then, you could only have 300 rupees that you can bring with you to the United States, which equals to $7 US. So he lands, he's like, okay, I'm going to go. He comes to the United States. He comes by himself. He has $7 and he thinks that his friend got his telegram to pick him up at JFK and he didn't. So he ends up staying at the airport for 3 days until he finds him and moves in with this guy to say, let's figure out how I'm going to make life happen and get a job here. And all of a sudden the United States says, hey, guess what? Your chemistry degrees, your professor degrees, none of that is valued here. You're going to have to go back to school. And he's like, I'm sorry, I don't have any money and I have children and how am I going to do that? And so that was the beginning of my parents' journey. Next slide, please. Where my mom was back at home and it took her, I don't know, 4 trips from our little tiny village all the way to Mumbai, which was like a 12-hour train ride. And she went back and forth 4 times to say, I'm going to get these visas. I don't care. I need to go meet my husband in the US. And so both of them were hustling. You know what I mean? They were just really trying to make the most of what they had. And so finally, in the picture to the right, my mom got the 4th round, by the way, that she tried. I was born, and I found out just on my 50th birthday last week that when I was born, she had to run 3 miles with me after her water broke just to get to a little village hospital. And in this image, I'm 8 months old, and they get to the airport, and I break out in this fever. And she's like, if I don't get on this plane, and back then in 1971, it wasn't like today where they're like, oh, it wasn't COVID, and you can't get on this plane. She gets on the plane, and now I break out in I got really ill, and they stopped the plane in London. I have a point, I promise you, right? So the point of the story is she made it. And she not only made it to the United States and got to JFK, but she had no idea that my dad did not get her telegram to pick her up. And so with all of that came this life. New slide, please. This life where they just hustled, they worked. We actually ended up being helped raised by the Italian mafia, by the Puerto Rican mafia. That's for a whole different presentation. But I love this image out there because on the left, you see my parents saying, we're going to make this work. What do you mean snow? I come from the equator. I don't even know what this is. And on the right, the only reason I show this image is it's the first day of school. It's a Catholic preschool, and my mom and dad were resourceful. My mom made all those clothes. I'm the one second to the right, and she got those from our neighbor who had a doll that was 3 feet tall, and that's the doll's dress, leggings, and shoes. Okay, so that's what she did. That's what they did. And so part of the journey, part of the strength, part of the tenacity, part of the resourcefulness, all of that's going to make sense when I tie that in with the emotional intelligence aspect, with the stretching, because I didn't know it at the time. And I know I'm confident that a lot of you out there are having stories where you're like, I relate. And I know someone who's been there, and I've been through tough times. And there's something that we get from that, right? There's something, even if we don't know it at that moment, that we get to absorb that will create and prep us for the next step in our life. Next slide, please. And so just so you know, my parents decided without telling us children, they got in a car and they drove from Brooklyn, New York, where I grew up, to Oxford, Ohio, which is not far from Dayton, for those of you who know the Midwest. And they didn't tell us. They said, oh, we're just going to go visit someone. When we landed in Dayton, next slide, please. When we landed in Oxford, they said, I woke up in this parking lot, and I was like, Mom, why are we at a gas station? She goes, honey, we're not at a gas station. This is your new home. And I went, I'm sorry, what? No, there's a cornfield over here. There's 8,000 people in this little town. We're the only Brown family here. This is not happening. This change, this massive change when we're teenagers, like, what are you talking about? I don't ever get to see my friends again. And that set the stage for something I had no idea was going to be why I landed where I landed today in the 4th reinvention of my career. Because at that time, I watched my parents hustle. We owned this motel. It was, and we were the maid, the desk clerk. We worked night shifts. We were 24/7. And a mile away, the reason they did that was Miami University of Oxford, Ohio, really good school. And they were like, we want our children to be educated. We will have them live at home. We will commute 1 mile to campus. And in that time, guys, I didn't even know this, but like to the east of us, 11 miles away was the home of KKK. And so I had stuff being thrown at me, garbage cans, and writing on my desk, please leave this country. And I'm like, what's going on? What do you mean I'm different? I thought we're all different, because I grew up in Brooklyn, right? New slide, please. And it was that learning that had me continue to learn and realize the beauty, right? The beauty of how we can grow and we can learn from discomfort. We were very uncomfortable. Ended up spending most of my young adult life in that space. New slide. And what I was going to share between that and when I graduated Miami, I was pre-med zoology. And I share this story because some of this may resonate with you. My parents were like, oh, Sonia, it is time to get you married and cook and clean. I'm like, I don't want that. And so I knew academics was my token, my ticket out. And I understand for a lot of you, the sports and the athletics and the skill sets that you have and the strengths that you have. And so at that point, I had this high school 2 hours away say, hey, you can teach high school for us and we'll pay for your master's degree. And I went home and I told my family, like, ding, 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 you may go, but on the weekends, you have to come back and take care of the business. So for 8 years, I juggled that. right? And the reason I share that is because then I did ended up having that teaching. I had a lot of stuff happen in my 9 years of teaching high school biology. To keep it minimum and short, I even had the school district sued because they were so racist towards me. I had to sit at separate tables. My colleagues would come in every day and saying, why can't you be more like us? Why can't you look like us? Why can't you behave like us? Why do you have to go help your parents out on the weekends? And I'm like, why are you asking me that? That's my duty. That's my culture. That's who I am. And they wouldn't accept that. But they did say, but you can be the director of our multicultural group here for the whole school district. How about that? And I was like, hey, wait, am I a checkbox? And at that moment, I realized, checkbox or not, guess what? I'm going to fully take advantage of getting exactly what I need to get from this space. And that is growth, that is knowledge, that has experienced a lot of pain. And I got my master's degree. And then I got tenured and I left. And I left and I got married to an Indian guy. So I did follow the rules there. And we moved to Arizona. And 4 years later, when I got to Arizona, I was like, I don't want to teach high school. What do I want to do now? How do I create my career now? And I had no idea. And so I started teaching community college. My husband got sick. I moved back to the Midwest and I broke another rule. We got divorced. That's a no-no. And so then I was like, now what do I do with my career? And so I share this because even with all my degrees and all of the obstacles that we overcame, I kept landing somewhere where I'm like, seriously, now what now? And in those times and spaces, I'm telling you, I'm not going to lie and say it wasn't hard. It was hard. But the number one thing I remember was saying, just keep moving. Do what you know and keep moving. Build your community around you. And that's what I did. And fast forward 20 plus years was another career and another career. And I'm a hustler. I built and created everything. And then at 39 years old, I found the love of my life and we got married. We wanted to have kids. And on my 42nd birthday, they said, you can never have children. You're not even capable of it. And when I was in Christmas of my 42nd birthday, they said, Christmas of my 42nd year, I apologize. I was in the emergency room because they thought I was having a heart attack. And 6 hours later, they said, we have no idea how, but you're pregnant. And at 43 years old, I gave birth to this beautiful, beautiful little girl. And she is 6 years old today. And fast forward now, that's why and where. Next slide, please. My husband and I said, let's buy a house. We're 40 years old, let's start over again. And we bought this house and I was excited because I was in a regular corporate job that I knew I was having, I was excelling. I made my number every year. I was in sales, but the people around me, again, were like, who are you? And why do you do things so well? And why are you so extroverted? And why are so passionate? And I'm like, people are asking me these questions. Isn't that what we want in people when they join us in our organizations, in our world today when we're starting businesses? But that's, in my reality, that wasn't real. They didn't accept me for that. And so what ended up happening is a week after we moved into my home, I got laid off. My husband comes in, he goes, holy, and you can fill in the blank. And I said, you know what? You met me at 40. I need to get my hustle on. And guys, someone came up to me that night and said, you should talk about emotional intelligence. And that's when I met Jelana. I'm like, what's emotional intelligence? And when they told me what it was and I bought the book and I started reading it, I'm like, that's not emotional intelligence, it's my life. Are you kidding? Oh my gosh. And I got so passionate, excited about it. And this week actually marks the 3rd year of my 4th reinvention of my career and being in business. Okay. Now, my gigs got canceled, all of them through COVID. I don't know where the next paycheck's coming in, but I am going to tell you, by applying some of the things that I'm going to show you right now, this is what I'm doing. And all I want to do and be for you today is to share that with you, because maybe you can do some of that. And you can reach out and say, hey, Sonal, can you help me work through some of this? Next slide, please. So my ask of you is, what is emotional intelligence? Oh, that's my daughter, right? I always said, don't wait for permission. And Brian Tracy says the same. How many of you are waiting for permission to be great? You're waiting for someone to give you that job. You're waiting to get that title. You're waiting to get that something. And you're like, I'll do it when. Raise your hand honestly if you're that person. I've been that person. But if we wait, just move. Just make that first immediate move. New slide, please. And so I wanted to share with you what emotional intelligence is. How many of you, and I don't know if you could see this, Jelena, just give me a quick raise of hands. How many of you are familiar with it? You've studied it, you've done work with it? Excellent. I know it's a common thing out there.
I am. I'm gonna talk since you can't see me.
Excellent, thank you. I can't see hardly any of you, so I'm going through Jelena and Blair to tell me this. So that's really challenging me because I want to see your beautiful faces. But emotional intelligence, what is that really about? There's 4 components, okay, that I want to share with you today so that I can take you into this application of it. Is that okay, if I have permission to do that?
Absolutely. And I was going to tell you, Sonal, I think we only had a few people raise their hand, I think 3 or 4, that said that they felt like they were familiar with it. So you've got a great audience for teaching us from the ground up.
Yeah. Excellent. And I am not, you know, I did not write a book on this, okay? I did not create this subject matter, but what my expertise is here, guys, is to show you how it works for me and how I teach others to apply it to real life, to real time. So self-awareness. What is self-awareness? Self-awareness is how am I showing up? How am I feeling? I always tell people, like right now, how many of your self-awareness may be, holy camole, we're not allowed to curse, right? So holy crap, no, crap's a word, bad word, never mind. Holy camole. Holy camole. Oh my God, I have this degree and I'm trying to apply for jobs and there's just not a lot of jobs out there and I don't know what to do next and how do I pay my bills? There's a lot of self-awareness. Self-management, the second step of emotional intelligence, is about how are you managing yourself when you know what you're doing and feeling. For example, if you just drove to your space or location right now to have this call and you got cut off by someone on the road, right? What's that going to evoke in you? Oh my God, I got to get there. Oh, look at that person, right? We kind of get a little spazzy or wired up or anxious, however you want to look at it, angry. And then we get ready to go into a meeting. Are we bringing that with us? Is that energy we're bringing contagious to the rest of the group? It is. And so self-management can look like, hey, you know what, everyone? I know I'm here. I may even be a few minutes late. Can you just give me 5 minutes? I just want to get myself pulled together. Just had this experience and just need to breathe through it. Hey, how about we all breathe together? How about we all come together? See, now I'm managing how I was feeling so that I can show up in a way where I'm empowering people and even without knowing it, giving them permission to show up real as well. And then social awareness, the third component, empathy, social awareness. If I'm coming to a meeting and I'm a leader, am I paying attention to how everyone else in that space is showing up? Am I looking around and saying, oh, good job on that? Or I heard you lost someone. Or, hey, you know, I hear you're going through difficult times. Oh, I heard you had a really great idea. Someone told me, you want to share it with the group? Being aware of who's in the room, letting them know that you see them, that you experience them, that you get them, right? And then the fourth component is relationship management. Because you're able to show up and manage yourself and then be mindful of who's in your space, you're now going to manage those relationships because, tell me your opinion, will you trust them more now? Right? Will you be able to say, I know that that person is going to say something and they're going to follow through with it? And so there's a lot of power in the relationship building if you show up with social awareness, with self-management and self-awareness, the value and the power of emotional intelligence. When I taught high school, I went into that space every day paying attention to the students, knowing that I had all variances of socioeconomic backgrounds. Which one of those students, right, are like, I get her, whatever. Some of them are sitting there going, I don't think she realizes I didn't have breakfast this morning and I'm feeling a little out of it, or hungry or tired, or so therefore I want to put my head on the desk and don't want to pay attention. My teacher may translate that as, oh, see, they don't care about learning. And the reality could be what? They don't have the resources they need to show up to learn. New slide, please. Questions so far on any of that? Anyone in the audience? Since I can't see you, Jelana, you let me know. So was there one?
DeMarlin had his hand up, it looks like in the participants area. Dee, do you still have a question?
No, that was just from earlier when I agreed to something. My apologies.
No
Oh,
worries.
don't apologize, please. Absolutely not. Don't apologize. I love it. And again, this is a new stretch for me to do this without seeing your faces. So we take that, we'll continue and say, we take that emotional intelligence, right? We take those components. Who am I? How do I manage the way I show up? Who's around me and what matters to them? And then how can that help me build relationships? And I take that and I put this in this like all-encompassing cool little circle because I like geometric shapes. I have no idea why. How do you now recognize and develop your power? So if you're emotionally intelligent, as you know today, that has so much more value than IQ. I'm not putting down IQ, right? But EQ has a lot of value to it. So how do you recognize and develop your power in that space? And here's how I recommend it, right? You have your bubble of confidence. Are you confident? I don't know about you, but I can tell you right now that there are a lot of times I have self-doubt. Raise your hand if you've ever had self-doubt.
Oh yeah, all the time.
Yeah, that's everybody in the room.
My hand's up. You can't see me, but my hand is up.
Right. And let me tell you, it's interesting because as a speaker and a trainer, I love what I do. Everyone meets me and they're like, you're so confident and put together. And here's what I say to them. Thank you, but let me be vulnerable. Here's what it really looks like to get where I'm at. And I share that with all of you, because if we don't do that, then other people will think I can't achieve what that person's doing. They have no idea what the conversation is in the background. And if we can share that with everyone, then we can all get where we need to go. So confidence, being confident in what you do. If you're not sure of, how to get some of that confidence, tap into people in your community, tap into your friends and say, hey, can you share with me where I shine and what my strengths are and why you like being around me? Let me hear that. Tell me, right? So know your value. I have to share this really quick. I didn't plan on it, but it's coming loud and clear to me because I know we have a lot of people, a lot of young adults on this phone, right?
Yep.
And when I first took my first job, if I knew what I knew now, right? Hindsight's 20/20, no pun on the year. I would have asked for more money. But in 1992, I didn't know that I was worth more. And I took that first teaching job and said, oh, sure, I'll take it. And it was a very little amount. It was like $21,000. And I was like, well, I'm out of college. I've never even had $5,000. So yes, give it to me, right? And so I took it. And because I'm in the fourth reinvention, every job I applied for after that, they looked at that first salary and said, we'll go up a little bit from there. What I didn't know was I set up what my value was and my worth was way back in the day. Don't do that. Know your value. Ask for your value because it will be the launching pad for how you build your future. Now I'm fighting for my value. They're like, but you only got paid this much. And I'm like, I didn't get my value at the time. So for all of you out there looking for jobs, negotiating with jobs, know your value and be okay with that. And then act and be authentic. That's a big word that everyone uses out there. What does that mean to me? It means show up as you are. Be real. I just heard from a really, really, really great, amazing human who I think is on this call, actually. She just told me yesterday, when you're acting, you're being authentic, that's about integrity to me. And she just shared with me yesterday that integrity is when you can play with chess. You can play chess with someone over the phone. Boom. Right? Like Who can I play with chess with over the phone and know that they're going to have integrity and be authentic and be honest? And when you combine all of those, everyone out there, that you step into your power. That makes sense? New slide, please. So let's talk about the how, okay?
And Sonal, before you jump into that next slide, I wanted to see if all of you on the call will type into the chat what part of those components of emotional intelligence, knowing your value, having confidence, and what was the third one? It was my favorite. What was the third one?
That's not part of.
How do you recognize your power? Confidence, value, and authenticity. I'd like for all of you to type in or share with us which ones of those you struggle with the most. Do you struggle with knowing your power, or rather knowing your worth? Do you struggle with being authentic or having confidence? I think everybody has one of those. So I'd love for everybody to just chime in and let me know. It'll help me with building more programs and more effective content, original content for each of you. All right. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Keep it going. Yeah, keep it going.
Joanna, that's amazing. That's amazing. Thank you for that. I appreciate that so much. And here are just some simple steps that I came up with when someone said, hey, you're showing up that way. And I said, I am. And so I don't know if you're anything like me. You're like, okay. And then you go backwards and you're like, what am I doing? Right? That's how I create steps. That's how, FYI, I discovered my gift. When I get a lot of feedback from people saying, you do this really well, you do this really well. Well, wow, then I must be doing that pretty well. I wonder if that's my gift. And I wonder if I can step into that. And we'll talk about that in a minute here. Step one of stepping into your power is understanding your purpose, whether it's a personal purpose or whether you're within an organization. I'm going to apply this to both because I know we have people in the audience that are part of both, right? Determine what you are trying to achieve. What's your ultimate goal? And I'm not going to even judge. No judgment here, right? Maybe your goal is, I just need to get a job to pay my bills. That's cool. Well, I'm really ready to step into what I really want to do for the rest of my life. That's cool too, right? There's no judgment, but figure that out. Do I want to increase my knowledge? Do I want to increase my skill set? Do I want more experience? You know, those are just some ideas I wanted to put up there for you. Okay. Next slide, please. And step two then is when you're joining an organization, this is to that point, do you know what the purpose of that organization is? Have you studied that? Do you know what their mission and vision of the organization is? Do you know what their values are? And here's why I say this. When I took my third job career that I lasted at 7 years with, I loved being there because I did really well. I was in sales, in publishing, so I merged my education with my business. But here's what happened. I didn't realize when I took the job, because I was eager to pay bills and have a 401k and benefits, I didn't realize that after I took the job, they said you're going to be in a cubicle, but I was like, okay, whatever. I dismissed that like it was no big deal. And then all of a sudden I got there, and for the next 7 years, I was dying because I was in a cubicle. Like, I will never take a cubicle job again. And here's the thing. I could have said, God, this stinks, man. I can't believe I have a job where I'm in a cubicle. Or how I showed up was, I made that choice, so I'm not a victim of my own choice. I can choose to stay even if I don't love it, because I know there's something else I'm going to learn here. And until it's time to go, I get to be excited and grateful for where I'm at instead of complain about where I'm at. Does that make sense? Right? And so that's why, to me, it's critical for people to do their research. What's the purpose of the organization you're trying to join? What are their mission, their vision, their values? Is it in alignment with how you feel and what you think? Step 3, new slide, please. What's their intention for you? What do they need you for? Not sure how to figure that out? Maybe see if you can find someone who was in that position before you, right? Or find someone who's done something similar to that. Or even even maybe go out and say, hey, you know what? Can I talk to the other people in the team environment, right? Make sure you understand what their intention is for you. And do you know and understand the purpose of your job position? Because that's just one little silo, right? What are you going to, how is your silo, the job you're choosing to take, going to be impacted by and impact other spaces in that organization? Learn that, know that. Next slide, please. And then understand how they align. Where do your purpose and strengths connect to the organization's purpose and goals, right? Where is that point of synergy? Before I took that education, publishing education job, I was offered 2 jobs, pharmaceutical and publication. This one paid 3 times the amount. This one paid not 3 times the amount. And everyone's like, you're going to take this. It's a no-brainer. You're going to get paid X, Y, and Z. And I went, no, it is a brainer. I don't know if you can say that. Because they're selling a drug that I don't believe in. And I can't sell something I don't believe in. Now, I came from the education world, right? I was director of an education facility where ADD and ADHD students resided. And I didn't believe in selling this ADD drug. That's just my personal value system. That doesn't make me right. It just means how I feel. So I didn't take all that money because I knew that once I started that job and selling something that I didn't believe in, it would have eaten me alive. So I took the job that paid less, but that actually was more in alignment and in synergy with who I was and what mattered to me. So I challenge you, if you haven't already, to make sure you're doing something like that same research. Okay, next slide.
So no, we had a question from the audience. I want to just jump in and ask you to think through, because I know the lens that you're going to share is from a diverse lens. But here's the question. Sonal, how do you feel that privilege plays into making a choice of whether to take a job or not? Oftentimes, our family responsibilities may not allow us to wait on taking a job. And how can we honestly respect where we are while we're looking to work with our strengths? I added that last piece, but really the question is about how do we allow, how does privilege play into sometimes those tough choices about how to manage family responsibilities and how we take on jobs? Because I would imagine both of us have been in situations where we've had to take on something that may not have been perfect for us, but it was something we had to do. It was kind of a point in time.
I will say that every job until where I am today is I've had to do that. I'm just being authentic. And here's the thing, that's where I was giving, that's an excellent question out there, by the way. So thank you so much for asking that. My perspective is, and this is kind of like watching my parents who are pure vegetarians flip burgers at Burger King on one hand, right? Or my dad, who's a chemistry professor, go in and just work for the blood bank to give blood. You know, there's a point in life, there's a point within ourselves where we say, if this is where I get to be and I need to be, then I'm going to embrace that. And then I'm going to just do what I need and get what I need to get from that space. I truly believe that, right? And so even if it's not the ideal circumstance, I'm going to be vulnerable, Jelana. The 3 gigs I had, jobs, careers, before this one, every one of my bosses were horrible to me. They were racist. It was a very, very difficult time for me, but I stayed. And I'll tell you one of the things I recommend, if you have family members, because that's what I heard in this question, that are being impacted by your choice, is that correct? I had those conversations with my family that it was directly impacting. So for example, when I lost this job, right, I had my husband say, sweetie, I sent you a bunch of job applications. You're taking them, right? You know, he's in panic mode. We have a house with, you know, all the stuff that everyone knows already. And I said, with my heart heavy, can we talk? I want to tell you something. And whatever you share, I respect, but it's my responsibility to share it with you. And I asked him, I want to do this. I'm passionate about this. It's not going to make any money for the first 3 years, and I'm in my 3rd year. your teacher salary, he's a teacher, will have to support us. I'm open to living simple. Are you? Or if you say, honey, I need you to go take that job, then I would have said, I respect that. I understand that. Let me land my feet into a position that I can tolerate and do because it supports my family, and I will create a side hustle to support my passion until. I never close that door. And look at me at 50 years old. I'm in the 4th reinvention of my career, and an opportunity, which 3 years in, he's looking at me now with all this happening going, where are we at now? You know, bless his heart. And I'm like, I'm not ready to close my doors. I know this is something I want. And guess what I do? I do a lot of little things. I have a lot of side hustles. Anyone on the phone who knows me knows that I have a lot of side hustles. And I'm a salesperson. And so I will do whatever it takes. So for that person who asked me, I am so praying that that resonated with you, that answer. But I encourage you to have conversation with those around you that are going to be impacted by your choice. Come up and collaborate together with, if I'm going to choose this job, even though it's not something that I love and the family won't love, what can that look like, feel like, and how can we work together as a family to make this work for all of us? There's a lot of power in that.
Hey, Sonal, just a quick time check. We're at about 20 of, but hopefully if, I'd love the conversation to continue past 4, if anybody can stick around if we.
And I'm almost done with the slides. I'm going to take them through another activity here real quick.
Got it.
I hope this is helpful. I was not trying to dump a lot of knowledge and stuff. I just wanted to really give tips and takeaways. So hopefully you're able to do that. Step 5, understand your contribution to the success of the organization. Very similar here to that whole conversation I just said about the values, right? How are you contributing to the success of that organization? If you're like, again, I'm completely authentic on this call. In my last job, because it wasn't where I wanted to be, but I went there because I needed to be, I wasn't 100% laser focused. I still made my number. Now, I can promise you, if I was 100% laser focused and loved being there, I may have even jumped that number. But I did what I needed to do, get by, because I want to do everything with excellence. Whatever I choose to take, I step in with excellence because it's my reputation. And then I also turned around and said, hey, I want to start my speaking business. I'm a stylist, by the way. So I started a stylist business in 1992, and I teach people how to dress for their body type, how to step into the greatest version of themselves. So there's a thread when I'm 50 that I discovered was going all through my whole life and all my job choices, even if I didn't love being there. So start honing in on that. Start paying attention to that, okay? Next slide. So again, it's all about your attitude and your intention. What are you setting up and how are you approaching it? And this is where we're going to get into the stretching. If you can, next slide, please. So what does it mean to stretch? This is my favorite thing. So the night before I lost my job, I had this dream. And I woke up and it said, I'm like, what do you mean have I stretched today? I always do my yoga, my exercises, whatever. I'm not an athlete like you guys are out there. And all of a sudden I went, no, my brain's stretching. I'm at a job that I don't love. Am I stretching out of my comfort zone, or am I staying there because I'm comfortable, right? And so to me, stretching is stepping out of one's comfort zone where the magic happens, how you can harness that power. And I'm going to take you through something. And while I'm taking you through this, I would love for my audience to give me an example, something out there that you want me to use as an example for stretch. And I'll give you more clarity on that in just one moment. Next slide, please. I want you to ask yourself these questions real quick. Are you living your life the way you want to, or the way someone has told you that you should? That was me in my Indian culture when I first moved to the States. Are you still trying to discover what your gift is? Okay. Let's say you're someone who discovered your gift and your passion. Are you failing to do it? I want you to really let those sink in with you on a cellular level. Now, if I may move to the next slide, I'm going to walk you through that. What I've done is I've taken the word stretch. My biggest passion area is stretching and teaching people how to implement it into their life, no matter what the stretch is. So would you please offer me an example that you would like me to use so that I could take you through my steps of stretching, how I identify it, through a real life example of something that someone in the audience would like to give me. Like, for example, my stretch is I really want to do X, Y, and Z. I really want to step out of my comfort zone and do this. Whatever that looks like for you, will someone please share so I could take that, and then I will walk through it for you using this process that I designed to see if we can get to where you need to be. And don't worry, everyone else out there, I'm not going to forget about you, because I'm going to give you an opportunity before we end for you to implement, submit something to me to win one of my bonus things. Okay? Did we get any, Jelana? And I'll keep it simple because I know we're short on time.
Yeah, we had someone say that they have recently inadvertently made a comment that could have been taken as a racist comment, and they've had to seek to apologize and you know, own that interaction. Can you take us through the stretch for that?
So am I understanding that their stretch, personal stretch, is to go back and remedy that experience? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
Correct?
Made a mistake, needs to apologize, and may have made a comment that could have been taken as a racial comment. So how does that person go back and own that?
Okay.
As their stretch? That's a tough one too. Thank you for that being super authentic.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm going to do my best to answer it because I don't have all the answers, but I will do my best to apply this. So number one is the S in stretch for me is stepping into awareness. You're doing that right now by asking the question, right? Simply by saying, here's what I know to have happened. Here's what is going on. I am stepping into awareness. So we just did the letter S, okay? The T is the tone and the attitude that you are choosing to use to approach this situation, if I may. So what I'm understanding, it's my only, I only know based on the question that was asked, that if you're asking, that's telling me that you care enough, that you're compassionate and that you're empathetic and you're like, I want to fix this. That's where I'm landing on just the fact that you asked. So your tone, your attitude is open-minded. Your attitude is, let's fix this, because that was not my intention, right? The R is reflect on what's needed. Gosh, if I said this to this person and this is how they took it, and I could tell by either A, they told me, or B, their body language, or C, their response, however they're communicating, then I'm going to tell you that what I need right now is a group like this that I'm on, and ask for other people to give me their perspective. That's what you need right now. That's your R. And so you're doing just that. So whoever asked that question, not important to me who the who was, but look, you're already halfway through this. And the E is engage in new ideas. And the new ideas could look so many different ways. One of the ideas is what I'm sharing with you. Let's put the stretch process. Another idea could be other people in your audience right now saying, hey, here's what I recommend you do. Here's how I see it. Here's how I see it. You're engaging in new ideas. You're surrounding yourself. You're collaborating. You're not sitting in this silo behind a television going, I think this sucks and I did this and I don't know what to do about it. And then I'm going to forget about it and ignore it, right? You're engaging in new ideas. That's the E. The T is you're taking action. You're asking. And I encourage you to now, after you collect what you need to collect, and if you need some clarity and some support, reach out to me, okay? I will help you with that. Your taking action is now going to that person or that human and saying, can we have a real conversation about something? I may have messed up. I'm here to learn. This is a tough time for all of us. I'm sorry that I hurt you. Can you teach me? Have a conversation with them. That's your action. Please, pretty please, don't do it via email or text. Please, pretty please. But that's on you. That's just my one idea of engagement, right? And then C is change management. Change management is taking notes. What's working, what's not working, Okay, maybe this person is not going to show up and behave the way we want them to. They're not going to be like, I forgive you. They may just be pissed off. Okay, I'm going to take notes on that and say, okay, that didn't work. Then can you tell me what I can do to help you understand where I'm coming from? Right? It is those crucial conversations that we have that are so key. That is one of my favorite trainings, is on crucial conversations. How do we get unstuck? And then the H in stretch is harness the power. And the power is the experience. So the experience can be, thank you so much for being so thoughtful and considerate to come back to me and to make some edits. I really appreciate you. Wow, that really bonds us even closer together. Or the H could be, it could be, no, you know what? I don't want to have anything to do with you ever again. But that's your data, right? And so what I love about harnessing the power is you could be harnessing the power from a failure, because failing is just the beginning of something new. So even if it didn't work, no worries. Don't, please, pretty please don't go, I shouldn't have done that. No, you get to rephrase that in an empowering way and saying, I am so glad that I did that. I learned from it. It may not have felt the way I needed it to feel, but I promise you I'm going to know different next time. And you harness the power. So are you ready to have a transformational experience and stretch outside of your comfort zone?
Yes.
That's what this is about. New slide, please. That's what this is about. For the person who asked me that question, please type it a no, because I can't see those, so I apologize. I hope that helped a little bit. I just went through it as though it came to me intuitively, but I'm sure there's a lot that I didn't share that other people on their call I hope are sharing with you, because that's a powerful, vulnerable, amazing question. And thank you for asking that. So why should we stretch? Because if we stretch, after we stretch, I promise you, no matter what, you will expand your knowledge, no matter what, to some degree. You will build upon your skill set after that stretch, whatever that stretch is. You will become more self-aware. You will enhance your self-esteem. And for the person who asked that question, if they say, I feel really bad, it may not enhance your self-esteem, I get that, but it enhances your self-esteem that with this crowd, you're going, I have the courage to show up and fix it. I pray that that is going to enhance your self-esteem. And then you identify where you need support. So stretching has a lot of value. Next slide, please. I wanted to help you with a tool, okay? So during COVID, when all my gigs got canceled and I didn't know how I was gonna pay bills, I said, I gotta figure something out, so I'm gonna pivot, right? And I designed these cards, they're called Celebrate cards. And what I did is for over 3 years when I was working with different organizations, they kept talking about, hey, I'm like, what's your corporate culture? Do you have a culture that you love and everyone loves and you need to sustain it? Or are you trying to create a great culture and you want to sustain it? And so I started asking these questions to all these leaders and saying, hey, if you could say something to someone on your team or someone who works with you or next to you or wherever you are in the organization, what would you say to them? But you just don't know how to put it into words. And I took a bunch of notes and I created these cards and I call them, my business is called True You. They're called value cards. And they would come as a deck of 30. And in this deck, you can give these cards away. That's what they're meant for, to pass them out to the people of your space in your organization and say, I celebrate you. And here's just one example. I value that you are comfortable enough to be vulnerable. I would give that card right now to that person who asked that question. I promise you that. And when you're having a team meeting and someone has the courage to ask something, give them one of those cards. Let them know that you see them. Next slide, please. So that's just one of the decks that if you're interested in learning more, reach out to me and I'll let Jelana and Blair and them give you the links and everything if you're interested. Again, I'm not trying to make this about sales. I just wanted to share a tool that you can use to support this part. I have another tool. I created a second deck because I'm not an overachiever. And I partnered with my friend, beautiful, amazing friend, Aisha, and it's called Colorful Bosses, because leadership doesn't have to be boring. What is different about these cards and the other deck? The other deck is primarily professional. This deck is for any human you ever meet. They're meant to be shared. Give it to a stranger, leave it at the coffee thing. And these are things like, you are brilliant and your ideas are genius. And what I love about this deck, audience, is that the opposite side of every quote are Aisha's paintings, her own paintings. New slide, please. And you can get those at colorfulbosses.com. So I want to tail this off and leave with the challenge. I challenge you. And Jelana or Blair, can you type this into the chat if you would, please? Personalitypoker.com. I have invested in these deck of cards by Stephen Shapiro, if anyone knows what they are, and I play this with my audiences. And because I can't be live with you, I was trying to find a creative way to share it with you. The value of personality poker for me with my audience is to give them the opportunity to learn about self-awareness. And so when you play this online, it's going to be like one of those casino games where you can go ding and it gives you multiple. You're going to land on the top 5 adjectives that you think apply to who you are the most. If you're anything like me, you're going to say, oh, that's me. Oh yeah, that's me too. And that's me too. And you're going to say, how am I going to supposed to pick? Just pick 5. Just pick 5. Because that's all they let you pick. And then on the right side of my slide for homework, you're going to send your 5 self-awareness adjectives to me. Email it to me at sonal@haveyoustretchedtoday.com. And here's why. Next slide, please. Because the first 3 people who emailed me their results will get a free 30-minute session to learn how to set up your next stretch. And I will help you. If you don't know what it is, I can help you with that. If you know what it is, but you don't know how to pursue it, I can help you with that. So the first 3 people who sends me their results will get free 30-minute session with me. Sound good? Yeah? Next slide, please. Oh, it's your turn. Woo, my favorite part. Your turn.
Yay!
Thank you.
Yay! Love it. Sonal, there was so much activity on the chat. I was barely able to keep up with it.
Good.
You had 3 or 4 people that brought other ideas of challenges that they were trying to stretch with. I do want to give you guys a couple of minutes if anyone has something live that you want to run past Sonal. I'll tell you, Sonal's already offered to be one of our mentors and coaches for the athLEDA Foundation. So you're going to be seeing a lot more of Sonal. We've kind of started out thinking about how we're going to work intentionally together, and we're going to create some amazing synergies between what Sonal's been doing and what we are doing together. So anyone have anything
That's
quick?
so awesome that you're coming on as a mentor, Sonal. That's I was gonna say, I call dibs. Please.
Is that the person with the stick figure?
Yeah, that's
Yes,
me.
it's Sam. Yes.
Sorry, it's like my old Gmail account from like when I was like 10 or something, and I just have yet to update the photo.
Update the photo. I want to see
I
you.
love it.
Be vulnerable.
Yes. She's beautiful too. Yes.
Aw.
Sam from San Diego. Sam
Yeah.
from San Diego.
Let me see if I can.
Anything I can answer for you, or
Hang on. My computer's doing all sorts of things. I just wanted to say thank you so much. I think emotional intelligence it's so important. And it's certainly, it's interesting how uncanny, like this is so well timed for me just with where I'm at in life. I've just lost some funding and I'm still trying to work out how to stay in the US currently. And so, it's been like working through that, like emotional intelligence is really, really important. And you spoke about, like speaking with your family and stuff. Like I live with my fiance, and so sharing that with him has been difficult, but very much like enlightening in a way, and just like being honest and vulnerable. It's really difficult to do that sometimes, even with people that you're, insanely close to. And so I think that it's really important, like for everyone, like don't be afraid to reach out to the people closest to you. That's what they're there for. That's what family is, whether it's friends, like your parents, siblings. But yeah, no, I'm really grateful to have had this talk. There's some, like, you've made some really, really positive points. So thank you. Thank you a lot.
Oh, you're welcome. My privilege to be here with you and all
Love
of you.
it. Love it.
Anybody?
I love it.
And if you have any questions, like I said, do the personality poker. It's fun. It's totally fun,
Mhm.
right? And, you know, I think once you play that, all it's going to do is start the process of being self-aware, like, huh. And the only reason I present that, you can do there's so many things you can do out there to figure out what your self-awareness is, right? But I just chose that because it's something you can do digitally as well.
I love it. I've got 3 quick announcements, Sonal. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I have got my text and the chat has just been lighting up the stage. So many beautiful things that people have offered. I'm excited to hear what our feedback looks like post this conversation and the tapestry that we're creating together. With that, I wanted to just share a couple of things. First of all, I want to congratulate Catherine Teasdale. Sonal, she's on our call today. She is going to be our first young leader working in the solar industry in New York City. She received an offer, a call this week. She's moving from Boston, originally from Australia, by the way, moving to New York to become a developing leader in the solar space. So I was thinking, Sam, I should connect you and Catherine together, and I can certainly make some connections with Pete and his team, who came and talked to us a few weeks ago about the incredible disruptive space of solar. So all of you on the call, I'm just going to put it out there. Reach out if you like to get in a conversation, because here we go. And then I also wanted to welcome Dr. Tracy Hathaway. She is going to be our newest board member. Tracy has been a student athlete. She's a first generation college graduate with her nearly at the end of pursuit of her postdoctoral studies. So we're excited for her, and she's going to be a part of, out of the University of Massachusetts and the Boston area. She's going to be an incredible part of the accountability that we have for having incredible women of color who build and promote and provide accountability for what we're doing to land and stay relevant in the spaces that we're playing in for high performers. My final announcement is George. George is back on deck next week. He's going to be talking about complacency as the enemy of greatness. So I would love for all of you, I believe Dee might have given him that inspirational topic a few weeks ago when he came in from when we first kicked these off. I'm excited to have George come back and talk about some of those incredible conversational topics that have meant so much to our athletes and our high performers on these calls. And we'll look forward to hearing more from George.
I'll just comment. It is so neat when somebody asks one question after a session and it creates another session. I mean, it literally creates content for an hour conversation.
I love it.
Very insightful.
It is. And thank you, Dee, for inspiring George's content. We appreciate that as well. I'm gonna let, I think somebody on the line might have a little background noise going on. I'm not certain. Mason Perryman's asking me about the July 3rd conversation. I think what we decided to do is I have a couple of coaches that are going to be coming in talking about wellness, nutrition, our body, how we bring our body and mind and spirit together. We're going to be doing activity-based work, but I think we're going to pull that into the July 10th versus July 3rd and give everybody a week off to just kind of celebrate family and take a deep breath. So July 3rd is going to be an off week for us, simply because of the amount of folks that are going to be traveling. When I did a poll, it felt like the right thing to just kind of take a breath. So thank you, all of you. I see a lot of awesome comments coming in from Sonal, or to Sonal, and I'll be sharing those with her. Everyone has her website. It's haveyoustretchtoday.com and Sonal at Have You Stretch. So come on through, do that poker game with us, and let's continue to learn about EQ together.
And join me on LinkedIn, please. I'm on LinkedIn a lot, so please join me on LinkedIn.
Yes.
Sonal Sheth Zawahri.
Absolutely. You got it. She's all over my page, so you can find her if you look for me. So, thanks, everybody. This has been a fantastic conversation. We appreciate you so much.
Thank you.
Why we do this.
See you next time.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Sonal.
Thank you.